showing a lack of respect to the authority of the court. To this point, such is not the case in the immediate matter. Mr. Murray, in my opinion, you have been courteous and respectful to this court and the judicial process. I firmly believe that, and I have personally enjoyed the sharing of beliefs when you were testifying and answering the questions I had raised. Therefore, it is the judgment of this court that I'm going to sentence you to a 1-year conditional discharge on the following terms and conditions: that you do not violate any federal, state, or local municipal laws, that there be no subsequent arrests and or convictions, and that you notify this court within 24 hours if you are arrested and or convicted of any such laws, that you appear in this court as directed by this court should there be a violation, that I am imposing a $250 fine and a $125 surcharge for a total of $375, and I'll hear from you relative to payment of that. I am putting in a specific condition that you may only participate in organized activities upon the premises of the 174th Attack Wing at 6001 East Malloy Road in the town of DeWitt, County of Onondaga, and State of New York, pursuant to the terms, conditions, and restrictions and area delineations specified in a valid permit issued by the town of DeWitt and or is permitted by agreement with the 174th Attack Wing at Hancock for such activities, and under the specific conditions that you do not restrict in any manner access to, from, in other words, ingress, egress, any of the entranceways to the 174th Attack Wing at Hancock. Additionally, initially, I am going to put the order of protection in. I don't know how much you're going in and out of the country. Do you go out of the country quite frequently?
Well, Your Honor, my long-suffering wife has spent 3 years worrying about us even taking a trip to Canada, so we have really foregone that for several years already, largely because we don't want to leave her stranded, or if I'm held for hours or something like that. So I would appreciate it if you could make it a condition of the conditional discharge as opposed to an order of protection.
I guess the difference in my mind is there's a very different penalty if you violate the order of protection versus the conditional discharge. I'm wondering if I modify the order to the effect that he stays away from the place of employment, if that matters to TSA. I don't know.
I think if it's going to, my understanding is, and I'm not an expert, is that if it's going to appear in the computer system, only the fact of the order appears, not a lot of the detail.
The conditions. Mr.
Yeah.
Kerrigan, are you aware of?
The only information I have is that the TSA computer goes off and establishes a red flag, if you will, my words, in the event there is any order of protection. What happens during the next hours as they investigate or get copies faxed or whatever's on the computer, I don't know.
Because the computers usually show all the terms and conditions.
I think initially what the computer shows is the existence of an order of protection rather than reading the fine print. And whether or not the agent at the border has the opportunity to read the fine print rather than seeing a computer notification that there is an OOP, which sets off alarms in his mind in considering their work with justification in most cases. I don't know where one starts and stops reading.
No, you're not a party to this.
Well, I just experienced this.
You're not a party.
Can I speak to Mr. Jarrett for a second, privately?
If you want to go over there, it's up to you, but she's not a member, but
If the court would be
He's pro
kind
se.
enough, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Hi, those two people. I can talk to
Two
you.
people have experience.
Judge.
well, I got, we're pro se at this point. so-
Judge, there's a decision, a very consensual, voluntary decision was made on behalf of the defendant. And he subjected himself to penalties because of his actions. And he did it knowingly, intentionally, and purposefully. So that is what he subjected himself to by committing this crime. And I understand your position in regards to how you feel about Mr. Murray, despite the fact that he's a professor at the rival of my alma mater. But he did purposefully subject himself to these laws. So, and to the jurisdiction of this court to set this order of protection.
I mean, here's the reality of it. If there's an order of protection, the maximum it can be is 2 years. I've got him under the 1 year on the conditional discharge. My feeling is, if you violated in this conditional discharge in the first year, I am gonna put that order of protection in. So, I'm willing to give you, in other words, you've got the terms here in the conditional discharge. If you violate it, then I'll have a declaration of delinquency filed. We'll have a resentence, and I will include an order of protection. So it's gonna be your decision if that happens in the first year. So, I mean, I'll leave the order of protection out with that caveat that if you violate this, realize what's gonna happen.
Yes.
Judge, I just want to note that the day after Mr. Murray's trial, there was about a dozen people arrested out there. So
But I don't believe he was.
he was not. I'm just giving you notice.
Well, I'm gonna leave the order of protection out, but with that caveat. If that happens, it's a violation of the order of the conditional discharge, and I will put it in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I am gonna leave in a condition that says abide by all orders of protection now or hereafter issued. So there's nothing out there from what you're telling me right now, right?
Right. Okay.
All the other ones, is the other one expired?
I believe, yeah, it expired 2 years. There was 1 year renewal, and then there was no renewal
Can you check the
after this.
registry? When can you pay the surcharge, the fine and surcharge fine?
Well, Your Honor, you know, it's always been against my principles to pay fines, but I think in light of I'm thinking in light of our dialogue, that I'd like to, since you are reaching out with a sort of a compromise, that I should act in that spirit. One possibility I'd like to suggest would be for me to pay the surcharge, but to make a donation in the amount of the fine to a group like the Afghan Peace Volunteers. Might that be acceptable to you?
Honestly, I think there's got to be a penalty here, and you know, there's got to be an offset here somewhere, so I'm going to impose the fine and surcharge. Surcharge I can't do anything about, that goes
Right.
off to the state. All but, I think $5 stays with the municipality, although I might be wrong on that. It's a negligible amount.
Okay, well, I think then, in the interest of the spirit of compromise that you just talked about, let's see, could I have a couple of weeks to pay?
Sure. March, let me put in for, I'm gonna put April 4th, or April 5th, how's that?
That would be fine.
I'm gonna have you go over these terms and conditions with your backup counsel, and if you don't understand anything, just,
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Should we look at them back there while you move on with other cases?
I don't
or is
have
this-
any other
We
cases.
finally ended tonight. Let me know if there are any questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna reach for a pen.
Oh, sure.
Today's the 10th.
There is not any vote down.
Nothing's in effect. All right, the registry is showing nothing in New York State in effect. But remember that conditional discharge, he has their term in there.
You can get another shot at that. You'll hear about that. We'll have a copy of that in a moment.
Okay, I think I can.
And do you have any questions on that, or? I'm going to order this filed and entered as of this date. Can I have copies made and then sealed put on?
Your pen?
You do have a right to appeal the sentence, and I gotta have everybody hold it
Quiet
down.
down.
You do have a right to appeal the order and decision of this court. If you wish to appeal this decision, order or decision of the court, and decision and judgment of the court, rather, you have to file a notice of appeal and duplicate with the clerk's office here within 30 days. If you need a notice of appeal, there's forms available online, or we can supply you with one. Any
I have
questions?
one with me, but I don't anticipate filing.
I don't think there's a need. Well, Your Honor, I just want to say I appreciate your continuing the dialogue and telling me honestly what you think. And at some point, hopefully, we'll continue the dialogue.
Well, it tends to be the one time that a judge can express what they feel, so, all right. Do you need a copy?
It'd be helpful if there is one, if there's one made.
Record should reflect I'm giving Mr. Murray a copy of the written orders and conditions of the conditional discharge, providing Mr. McNamara a copy of the same. What I really meant, but I think there's got to be a reemphasis to another direction, because it's, if you want the dialogue, it's not occurring.
I know we need.
There's a copy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Judge.
Thanks, Your Honor. Good to see you again.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We stand adjourned.
All right, thank you,
I
Your
should have
Honor.
given you time to get over there.
No, thank you. Thank you.